Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. 20 verses.
Yes, and then we are focusing on 30th verse.
There's no time to talk. Okay, all right. 10 to 30. Okay, everybody ready? Patience is a virtue. Here we are, everyone together. During the Chakshusha Manvantara, there was a great king named Satyavrata, who was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Satyavrata performed austerities by subsisting only on water. In this, the present millennium, King Satyavrata later became the son of Vivasman, the king of the sun planet, and was known as Shraddhadev. By the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was given the post of Manu. One day, while King Satyavrata was performing austerities by offering water on the bank of the river Kritama, a fish appeared in the water in palms. Satyavrata, the king of threw the fish into the water of the river, along with the water in his palm. O King Parikshit, descendant of Bharat. With an appealing voice, the poor small fish said to King Satyavrata, who was very merciful, "My dear king, protector of the poor, why are you throwing me in the water of the river, where there are other aquatics who can kill me? I am very much afraid of them." To please himself, King Satyavrata, not knowing that the fish was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, decided with great pleasure to give the fish protection. The merciful king, being moved by the pitiable words of the fish, placed the fish in a different and brought him to his own residence. But in one night, that fish grew so much that he could not move his body comfortably in the water of the pot. He then spoke to the king as follows: "Oh, my dear king, I do not like living in this water pot with such great difficulty. Therefore, please find some better reservoir of water where I can live comfortably." Then, taking the fish out of the water pot, the king threw him in a large well. But within a moment, the fish developed to the length of 3 cubits. The fish then said, "My dear king, this reservoir of water is not fit for my happy residence. Please give me a more extensive pool of water, for I have taken shelter of you." O Maharaj Parikshit, the king took the fish from the well and threw him in a lake. But the fish then assumed a gigantic form exceeding the extent of the water. The fish then said, "O king, I'm a large aquatic, and this water is not at all suitable for me. Now kindly find some way to save me. It would be better to put me in the water of a lake that will never reduce." King Satyavrata took the fish to the largest reservoir of water. But when that also proved insufficient, the king at last threw the gigantic fish into the ocean. While being thrown into the ocean, the fish said to King Satyavrata, "O hero, in this water there are very powerful and dangerous sharks that will eat me. Therefore, you should not throw me in this place." After hearing these sweet words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a fish, the king, being bewildered, asked him, "Who are you, sir? You simply bewilder us." "My lord, in one day you have expanded yourself for hundreds of miles, covering the water of the river and the ocean. Before this, I've never seen or heard of such an aquatic animal. My lord, you are certainly the inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, Shri Hari. It is to show your mercy to the living entities that you have now assumed the form of an aquatic. O my Lord, Master of creation, maintenance and annihilation, the best of enjoyers, you are the leader and destination of surrendered devotees like us. Therefore, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. All your pastimes and incarnations certainly appear for the welfare of all living entities. Therefore, my Lord, I wish to know the purpose for which you have assumed this form. The Lord, possessing eyes like the petals of a lotus, the worship of the demigods, or in the bodily concept of life, is fruitless in all respects. But because you are the supreme friend and dearmost supersoul of everyone, worship of your lotus feet is never useless. You have therefore manifested your form as a fish. Hare Krishna. That's it. What verse is it? 30. Okay, great. All right. Everyone ready? 30 it is. Natera vindaksha pado parshapanam. Vrishabhavit sarva surit priyatmanaha. Yatetarishang pritag atmanang satam. Adidrisho yad vapur adbhutang hinaha. Nariktaksha padota parishana.
Vrishabhavit sarva suhrit priyatmana.
Yatetarisham pritag atmanang satam.
Adidarsho yad vapur adbhutam hina.
Adidrisho yad vapur adbhutang hinaha. Natera vindaksha padopa sarpanang.
Vrishabhavit sarva suhrit priyatmana.
Vrishabhavit sarva surit priyatmanaha. Tetarisham pritag atmanang satam.
Adidrisho yad vapur adbhutanam hina.
Adidrisho purpur abhuttahinaha. Natedarindaksha padopa sarpanam. Vrishabhavit sarva surit priyatmanaha. Yatetarisham pritaga atmanang satam. Adidrisho yad vapur abhutahinaha. Natera vindaksha padopar sarpanam. Vrit sarva surit priyatmanaha. Pritaga atmanang satam. Drisha vapur abhutahinaha. Natera vindaksha padopa sarpanam. Vrishabhavit sarva surit priyatmanaha. Yatetarisham pritag atmanang satam. Adidrisho yad vapur abhutahinaha. Na, never. Te, of your lordship. Aravinda aksha, my lord, whose eyes are like the petals of a lotus. Pada upasarpanam, worship of the lotus feet. Marisha, useless. Bhavet, can become. Sarvasurit, the friend of everyone. Priya, dear to everyone. Atmanaha, the super soul of everyone. Yata, as iteresham, of others the demigods. Pritag atmanam, living entities who have material bodies different from the soul. Satam, of those who are spiritually fixed. Adidrisha, you have manifested yat, that, vapahu, body, adbhutam, wonderful, he, indeed, naha, unto us. Let's read this translation together. O my Lord, possessing eyes like the petals of a lotus, the worship of the demigods who are in the bodily concept of life is fruitless in all respects. But because you are the supreme friend and dearmost supersoul of everyone, worship of your lotus feet is never useless. You have therefore manifested your form as a fish. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. The demigods like Indra, like Chandra, and Surya are ordinary living entities who are differentiated parts and of the Supreme Personality of God. Yeah. You have to get used to this. The Lord expands himself through the living beings. Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam. His personal Vishnu Tattva forms, which are all spiritual, are called Swangsha. And the living entities who are differentiated parts are called Vibhanangsha. Some of the Vibhanangsha forms are spiritual, and some are a combination of matter and spirit. The conditioned souls in the material world are different from their external bodies made of material energy. Thus, the demigods living in the upper planetary systems and the living entities living in the lower planetary systems are of the same nature. Nonetheless, those living as human beings on this planet are some attracted to worshiping the demigods in the higher planetary systems. Such worship is temporary, as the human beings on this planet have to change their tatadi hantara prapti. Yeah. The living entities known as and no, okay, Varuna. There's Varuna. And so on, will also have to change their bodies in due course of, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Antavat tupalang tesham tadbhavat alpamedasam. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their are limited and temporary. Kamastaistaya ritagyana prapadyanti niyadevata. Those who do not know the position of the demigods are inclined to worship the demigods for some material purpose. But the results of such worship are never permanent. Consequently, here it is said, Yate tardesham pritag atmanang satam padop sarpanam mrishabhavet. In other words, if one is to worship someone else, he must worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, his worship will never be fruitless. Swalpam apyasid dharmasha trayate mahato bayat. Even a slight attempt to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a permanent. Thank you. I didn't have to do this. Okay. Therefore, as recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tyaktva Swadharamam Charanambujam Harehe. One should take to worship of the lotus feet of Vishnu. What's another name? Hari. Even if this means giving the so-called occupational duty assigned because of the particular body one has accepted. Because worship in terms of the body is temporary. It does not bear. It does not bear any permanent fruit. But Worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives immense benefit. Thank you very much. Haribol. For helping us with that. Okay. Okay, a very interesting episode in the Bhagavatam is about this particular incarnation. And the Bhagavatam does definitely lay out information about the various forms of God. What I really like about our culture, our philosophy, is that God is not just one. God is many, and at the same time one. Does that make any sense? Okay. So the going back historically, at one time the whole globe believed in multiple gods, pluralistic gods, powerhouses, you can say. Um, those who supplied our bounties, the things we need for survivalism. And then at some point in history, within the Kali Yuga, from the Middle East was born this idea there's only one God, just one. And what that one is, hardly anybody knows. Hardly anybody. If you ask some people who are bred from a religious tradition from the Middle East, they don't have much information about God, honestly. And say, like maybe in the Catholics, they've been led to believe that God is a man, an older guy with curly hair, lots of muscles, and he goes like this. And Adam is created. So we're going to show Adam. That's not Adam. That's not Adam. Okay. So at best, people will say when you ask them, "Can you define God?" Oh, God is great. But one time, one of our devotees, he's a Polish American devotee. He lives in Alachua, and he's a good friend of mine. And he met with the Pope John Paul, some time back, and he gave him a Bhagavad Gita, and he said, "Oh yes, I know Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna. He referred to Krishna is great." So that's okay. That's good information to say someone is great. I remember just a new devotee had come, and a devotee by the name of Rupa Vilas was giving a class, and he gave an example of Napoleon. Who's Napoleon? Oh, Napoleon is great. Hare Krishna. Give me more, feed me more. So there isn't much information about the personality of Godhead. By the way, why do we say the personality of Godhead? It's got some definition there. It means some personality of Godhead. Personality, personalism. God is a person. Okay. Like us, like humans in a sense, Now, what's interesting about this particular pastime is that the Lord appears in many forms. And now I think after many years of the insistence by our people from the Middle East that God is just one, there's only one God. Finally, people are saying, well, maybe there are some other gods. Maybe there are some other rupas, forms of the absolute. And why not? I mean, you look at the last phrase of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, he's addressed by Sanjaya as being the supreme mystic, Yogeshwara. That means he can do anything. The other day I was listening to Holtz, The Planets, Gustav Holtz. You can check it out. Please write it down. And just write it. And it's called The Planets. And he wrote a song for every planet within the universe. And then he wrote about Neptune, the mystic. Now you have to look at I'm not mystic, okay? Mystic. You listen to that music and please get back to me and let me know after today, because I'm leaving tomorrow. I want to hear from you. After hearing that music, do you feel a little bit more evolved, more mature in your Krishna? Do you feel small maybe? Okay. It's a beautiful piece of music. The guy was very inspired who composed that. The Mystic by Holtz. Okay. Neptune. Okay, speaking of Neptune, speaking of water, this and also that, God decided to appear in different forms. What's the advantage of that? Well, maybe we can start respecting other species. Why does it just have to be a human being? Why is it that we are so arrogant that all the time it's got to be a human form because we are superior, we're the superior race, and it's got to be a man or it's got to be a woman like that. And of course, by the way, our idea of Bhagawan or the Supreme Personality of Godhead holds that, yeah, God will appear as a man, will appear as a woman, but not to the exclusion of other forms of life. Fish, oftentimes we read in Prabhupada's books that aquatics can be like considered a lower form of life. When we talk about our version of evolution, once we fell from the spiritual world, we become not so fallen. Prabhupada explains, well, we become a demigod, and then after being a demigod, we fall down quite deep. It's a long haul down there, and so we become aquatics. So of course, there's different kinds of aquatics. Some are dull, and of course, it's assumed that we're talking about like a one-celled, species. What do you call those? An amoeba, for instance. Yeah, and it's just not very developed at all. But we do have some advanced mammals that are considered aquatics. So I think we have to sort of break it down and define things. Whales, for instance, dolphins. They're very, very bright. I have a liking for sea turtles myself. Okay. And by the way, the Lord appears as a massive kurma of a kurma. Yeah, turtles are a big thing in most traditions. I have to just share with you that many of our indigenous people believe that the creation started with a turtle. Yeah, our local native people, they have a really far out explanation. Something I want to also say to you all is that I recall Charu when he came here. Oh, he was back in the late 70s, and he helped to start the whole Festival of India with Madhua and all that. And I remember him giving a class on the creation. So most people have a version of creation, like coming from that part of the world, that Middle East part, that God was there and everything was dark. And he decided there should be light. And after 7 days, he arranged for the light to switch on and a few things to be placed in there. And then after he was tired. So on Sunday, it's a day of rest. That's the version we've heard. That's kind of cute and that kind of works for simple-minded folks. But when you actually go to our books, it's very evolved. It's very wondrous. In fact, Jira was saying it has to be dynamic. It has to be, let's say, awesome. It has to be. So our version is that, God exists and everything's dark. There's a God exists on the water. He's having a good time. Some water massage therapy. And then from his navel comes this little stem that comes out. And it grows and grows and grows. And out of it comes a blossom of a lotus flower. And out of the lotus flower comes a human being. And he's looking in different directions. Hey, man, what's happening? And he has like a permanent forehead situation. He goes down the stem to see what is the source, what's going on. He came back up to only find out he didn't have an answer. It wasn't coming to him. But then mystically, the sound of the two syllables ta pa came. And this is very significant because, along with the creation of the world came a message. And that message was, you must have discipline. That's it. Tapasya. Tapa means discipline. And also from the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is saying that along with the creation of people and devatas and prajapatis came something else, yajna, sacrifice, which is kind of the same thing. It's a giving up. It's a sacrificing. A yajna means sacrifice. So think about these things that this is the message. Now, Brahma became enlightened because he heard these words from the Supreme Lord. and he performed austerities for a very, very long time. If you hear about how long it was, your jaws would draw open. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, so that the story is very evolved, and it's very, let's say, very complicated, and also very absorbing. It's got a lot of details, a lot of colors, shapes, personalities in there, and like all the stories that we read about, it's very you get so entangled in it, like a tango. Does anybody know what a tango is? I go there every year, and tango you go to Argentina. That's the birthplace of tango, and it's a guy and a girl. Sometimes two guys, sometimes two girls, because everybody's very loose these days. So, anyways, but they're very into each other, right? Very much into each other. So the idea is that these stories grab your attention. They're absorbing, compelling, and you don't want to leave them. In fact, you could just concentrate on these stories instead of the other things. Now, when I was having some lower back difficulties, one of our devotees who was priming up to go to Hollywood, he showed me the Star Wars, and I looked at it and I said, "This is the story of Ram. A princess is kidnapped, and everyone's trying to get her back." And the guys in these spaceships, they're all in saffron color, brahmacharis trying to get her back. And, and there's heroes there, and, they're borrowing, they're borrowing ideas from the Vedas, Nothing is original except for what we find in the Vedas. So when you look at these stories, be a happy, let's say, audience that is hearing from the source of all stories. Okay? You can hear everything about, like I'm a monk, some of us are monks, and we've met, when you go for a walk, sometimes you see a chipmunk. and there's a story behind it, how the stripe got by the chipmunk. It's a story in the Ramayana, right? And then there's a story of, how poison came about from the churning of the ocean of milk. And there's a story of how Shiva gets this, this little deposit of poison here. And everything that's wondrous comes from the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavatam stories, the Puranas. They all come from the Puranas. And that's, Prabhupada explains in 1716, please note this down, 1716, chapter 1716 of Bhagavad Gita, like it's the answer to the classic question, how can I control my mind, Maharaj? People ask me. How can I control my mind? The answer is there. I'm going to leave it to you. It's homework. You have to explore it yourself. How do you control your mind? Okay, the answer is there. It comes in the verse, in the shloka, and also in the purport. How to control the mind. So even if you apply, it might still be difficult. Well, let's go back to our story here. It's very compelling. Satyavrata has got a fish, and the fish is talking. The Ramayana is all about talking monkeys and vultures who speak, probably in English. And, people have got these ideas. The Panchatantra is full of stories about animals that you can get lessons from. The only problem with the Panchatantra is that there's a lot of killing. Disney wouldn't take it up. One animal kills another, and it's not like a happy ending necessarily. Not necessarily. Okay. So anyways, going back to multiple gods. Okay. Fish, tortoise. What else do we have? Lion. We have a boar. Yeah. And we have a horse, avatar, a swan, hamsa, turtle. Yeah. Those are a few, and I'm sure there's more. I'd be interested to find out if there's such a thing as mosquito incarnation. the the creature that we love the most, right? Yes. So that's why God is great. if we ask the question, why, if God is great? He's great because he can do many things. He can take many forms. Here we're talking about serving worshiping the lotus feet. I didn't know that fish had feet, but somewhere or other he can do anything. He has fins. He has fins. But yes, lotus fins. And I don't know why they couldn't say that, but no, feet are important. The base of a being, the base of a being, the foundation of a being is the humble place. When we have darshan in the morning, and I think we still hear Dharma Prana going, Nitai Gora, Jaya Gora Nitai. We still hear him, right? And then the doors open, and then we do our obeisance, and then we're to look at the lotus feet of Gora Nitai. You look at the feet, and then you go up. So spiritual life starts from the point of humility. That's the point, right? Humility, and it doesn't start from being arrogant and looking up necessarily and getting the face of God. It starts with the feet of God. That's where that's where real bhakti begins, at the base. I mean, if when they built this building here in 1897, they had to have a strong foundation. As far as we know, it is a strong foundation. But since we acquired this building, we've been laying out concrete. It makes it even stronger, because there was just dirt under here. There was dirt, and we had to lay concrete in the various sections of the building. And so if you want to get anything done, if you want to build something strong, you have to have a strong foundation. So for life itself, we need a strong foundation. That begins with going to the lotus feet. The feet of whom or what? Well, the feet of God, and also the feet of Guru. And we shouldn't forget sadhu, because in the real culture of Vedic culture, it's about, you have multiple gurus. It's not just one who will deliver. It's multiple gurus. Just keep that in mind. It's multiple gods and multiple gurus. Now, there might be one supreme power, and that, of course, we acknowledge as Krishna. Students of Bhagavad Gita, I think we get it very clear that Krishna is the source. Aham sarvasya prabhavo bhata sarvam prabhartate. Everything that is matter, everything that is spirit is an emanation from him. It's pretty clear. And I wish that our Hindu friends would spend a little more time reading the Bhagavad Gita, because for them, it could be could be Ram, which is not a problem. It could be Durga, which is a little bit of a problem. And it could be somewhat Kartikeya. There was a slight problem. There's a few problems here and there. And if they could just grab the Bhagavad Gita, which is meant for everybody, for all people of all times, all places, then we would get it. Oh, it's Krishna who is the source of all, and not Vishnu. Like, don't get me started. You can get into these real incredible, some people want to incite you and get into an argument. Vishnu's first. And they'll try to point out how he's first. Vishnu was there, and then Krishna came. Even in the prison, Krishna appeared first, or Vishnu appeared first. Then the baby appeared, little baby Krishna. So we have to somehow or other, if we get a chance, tell our friends who feel I'm doing everything so much, that there is, there are explanations. Just because Krishna appeared maybe only 5,000 years ago means it doesn't mean it's the beginning of Krishna. It's just that he made a special appearance. Just like, say, if you have a stage performance and you have an agenda, like somebody's on first, okay? The person who's on first isn't the oldest necessarily. What about they leave the hot item agenda at the end of the show so that the audience will get aroused? Well, just because somebody's at the end, it doesn't mean they're the youngest. They appeared at the end, but they already were existing. In fact, they might be older than act number one. So that's how it works. Krishna looks at this world as a stage, and he's a performer. That becomes clear also in the Bhagavatam. He's a like an actor. He's on the stage and he's rolling out all these dramas. He's also the director. He's the actor and the director, and he's also involved in special effects. Chapter 11 from Bhagavad Gita. And he also is many. He can become many, many, as we're hearing about today. So this is, just a little bit for us to grasp a little bit piece of information on how the Lord is important. He is one. He's Svangsha, which means he's the source. And there's a lot of Vibhananshas that are coming out from us. Are we Svangsha or Vibhanangsha? Vibhanangsha. Okay. Are we Jiva Tattva or Vishnu Tattva? Okay, so they're equal. Jiva Tattva means Vibhanangsha, or could be. And then Vishnu Tattva means, the source of everything. We are not the source. We are the force. And we have to be the force of Krishna, the force of Chaitanya, the force of Prabhupada, if we want to succeed and be successful in this life. And on April the 9th, 2000, did I get the right date?
Yes.
April the 9th, 2025. If you want to be successful, that's what you have to do. Got to start with a strong, solid foundation. Hare Krishna. Okay, we're going to keep it open for questions and hopefully some plausible answers. Okay, so what did we learn today? Where tango was born? All right, go ahead.
One realization, a few questions, Maharaj.
No, well, wait a minute. Give everyone else a chance. Okay, but that's okay. Start with one. We'll see where we go.
The realization is that the Brahma had to do tap for 1,000 celestial years.
Mm-hmm.
Then he got this Bhagavatam knowledge. We are getting it so easily here
Mm-hmm.
without any austerities.
Yes, that's a comment, right? Was the question? Or?
No, that's just a realization.
Oh, realization. Okay. Yes, so he's heading up our Sampradaya. He's our first guru of the universe, first guru within creation, you can say. The real Adi Guru is Krishna himself. But it appears that Brahma would be the first professor of Bhakti. It would appear that way. Yes, so we give credit to him, and for all of his great contribution, starting up the Sampradaya, you can say.
The question is, when we read Mahabharata, Krishna himself worships Surya Narayan. He asked Arjuna as well to worship Mahamaya before fighting the battle. He asked Pandavas to worship Lord Shiva for Pashupati weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been so many occasions where worshipping these demigods have been recommended by Krishna.
Well, so you want me to validate it or something?
Like the way it was mentioned about demigods.
Right. Yes. So just like, say, sometimes we have a festival, Rath Yatra, right? And we'll invite the mayor of the town, right? What's her name again? Chow. Yeah, Olivia, right? Chow. Yeah, and so she'll come, and we ask her a favor. We do a little back scratching. Favor, give us a favor. Give her some audience because she wants votes, right? So therefore, we give her the stage. And we're not going to worship her. We'll treat her nice. We'll give her some prasadam. We'll give her a chair to sit on, some cold water. The last person that came, like a female VIP, she had high heels on, and this is Center Island, and she collected so much sod, the high heels. They're like this, the high heels, and she had so much, she didn't see it, but so much grass and sod stuck onto her high heels that became kind of obvious. But anyways, the point is that you go for favors from people. It doesn't mean you see them as God. You respect them. You respect them. You know, I mean, you try. Well, I don't know about, you know, the guy south of the border. I'm not sure what to think about. But in any case, the individual is supposed to has a post and is representing something. Even demigods represent God, right? That's the point. Kshatriya kings are supposed to represent the supreme personality of Godhead. That's our understanding, but they are not the supreme personality of Godhead. Even Guru, you give a lot of respect, but he is not God. Not God. Okay, so the gopis, they worship goddess Katyayani to get Krishna as their husband. It doesn't mean that they're seeing that goddess as the goddess, right? So, you know, we just win favors from the demigods, and so we respect them for what they represent. Okay, and they represent God, but they are not God. We have to make that distinction. We have to draw lines. Isn't it? You all have pens. Draw a line. You can draw a line, right? Draw a line, and that's what you have to do all the time with everybody. Yes, Prabhu.
To continue on this conversation, when do we ask for help, Krishna, and when do we ask to demigods?
Well, it depends on the circumstance. Say, like if you want to, the temple wants to own the park. We want to buy the park, and do some underground parking for the big festivals like Janmashtami. You know, so should you go to Krishna? I guess so. You should pray to him. But I guess it's not a bad idea to talk to the aldermans or the people of this area. You know, get in good with them, invite them over a few times. You know, for the festivals, make them feel good. Everybody votes for that person, and then maybe eventually you'll get that park. So it depends on the circumstance. I think it's really you know, you plug in. Yeah, if I could, is that okay? I don't think this. See this? There's two. It's parallel. Okay. And sometimes you have a three. Okay.
The top is Krishna.
Yeah. Anyways, this is supposed to be the male part, and this is the female part, and so it's a matter of like a happy union, you know, arrangement in this world. That's how to look at it. We need help from everybody. Just don't. That's why I mentioned that earlier on. You may have a guru, diksha guru, but that diksha guru is not always there for you. There's other gurus around, other sadhus. International Society for Krishna Consciousness means people, right? And say like you're a child and say, should I get help from my mother or my father? Why not get help from both of them? They both have something to offer. Like I just heard the other day, if say like when you're a baby and you're hungry or you're fidgety or something, it's the middle of the night and you'll cry and your mother will hear you and take care of you. And, you know, and the father is just fast asleep. Now, when there's, you know, outside the house, when there's a rustling around, someone's moving around in the night, mom will she'll be out like a light, and dad will, what's going on? What's going on? And he'll come, and he'll wake up and get around, just who's prowling around, who's let's say, trespassing, who's going to give trouble. So, you know, they both have their some services to offer, right? So mom and dad are both there. That's why we always should speak about wholesome family life. We don't, unless if it's real dire straits, we encourage, you know, for husband and wife to stay together, especially when there's kids. Because we need help from both mom and dad. Wouldn't you agree? How many people agree with that culture, that philosophy? Okay, because the new one hasn't been working out. Plain and simple. Okay. All right, that was a good question. Yes, Babu.
Maharaj, I would add on that. So what should be our mood when we see like there is a worshipping of demigods is going on,
Worship of
demigods is going on,
demigods. Yeah.
and what should be our mood in that? Because in 10 differences it is mentioned that we should respect personalities like Lord Ganesha, Hanuman.
Oh yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled all over India and he worshipped all the He offered respects. There's no problem with that. You know, I mean, let's say you're walking across Canada and you come to a Catholic church and, you know, there's like Mary is standing out there, whatever she does, you know, there's no problem with respecting her. But if you get a chance, an opportunity to talk to someone, well, Mary's very nice, but have you ever heard of Radharani? Have you ever, you know, Lakshmi? So, you know, opportunities, just look for opportunities. It's a good thing that people are worshiping demigods. They're plugged into the culture. But like as it was quoted here, right? Not worshiping with not true understanding. Well, kamaisaisya means you're not so developed, your intelligence is not right on track because you haven't understood everything just yet. So let's try to help people understand the position of Krishna as opposed to Ganesh or Shiva. Best thing is to distribute books, and you don't have to do much talking. The books will talk, explain it for themselves. And it's always hard to talk to somebody who knows I'm knowing everything. Like, sheesh. I remember I was in Kanpur years ago before we had our center there, and I was encouraged to go to a function, and I was allowed to speak, you know, in English, and someone translated to this, you know. It really wasn't such a big event. I got a little bit deceived, I think, I feel. But after I finished it, I had three men, grown men, you know, Hindu guys come and said, "Excuse me, we want to talk to you." And I said, "Yes." I said, we know we are knowing everything, and you can tell us anything. You know, like really arrogant. You can tell us anything. So you are from the West. We are very interested in your money, but not your message. So that was pretty clear. They weren't very advanced bhaktas. You know? So it's hard to tell someone who knows everything that, you know, you should like Einstein's. I don't know anything. The universe is so big. I'm small, you know. So that's the real pundit. That's a person who's somewhat realized, admits the world is big and I'm small. What can I even know? What can I fathom? Okay. Anything else, Prabhu's? Si, senor.
So Maharaj, you mentioned about tapa, which was the first instruction to
Yeah.
Brahma, and you mentioned that it is discipline. So discipline in terms of spirituality, that we are chanting our we are chanting our 16 rounds and following the regulatory principle, or discipline in terms of normal things like making your bed and stuff like
Yeah, well,
that.
everything, the whole gamut. Oh, yeah.
So how do
Oh,
we encourage ourselves?
the way you park your car in the driveway here, discipline, you know. You do in such a way that there's room for other people. Everything, discipline. Wipe the, you know, serve, discipline. You know, it's not about me. It's about everybody else. And when you make everybody else happy, then you are happy.
Maharaj, in this way, I think I'm sure I'm struggling with it. I'm not sure if anybody, but in our daily life schedule, like
Or which schedule?
daily life schedule,
Daily. Okay.
most of the people they're struggling with it.
Struggling. Yes.
Not just me, but a lot of youth out there, they're struggling with it.
Yeah.
So how do we try to maintain it properly?
The
in
struggle?
a disciplined way.
Maintain the struggle. Okay. That's really easy. Prakriti stani karshati. Krishna says in the Gita, Prakriti stani karshati. Which means everyone's struggling. What are they struggling with?
To maintain a nice discipline.
In the mind.
Senses, yes.
That's what we're struggling with. Everything else is okay. It's not a problem. It's just we struggle with ourselves, you know. And that's the discipline helps you to cope with the struggle. And it's a little poisonous, but you know from the Gita what Krishna says, what in the beginning is like poison turns into nectar. And that which in the beginning is like, hey, I'm having a good time, I'm high. In the end, it turns into poison, right? So discipline is, it's good. You know, like, you know, everyone's learned that from the gay. Your mom says, or your dad says, hey, you know, Ravi, Pinky, get up. It's time to wake up. It's time the bus is coming. The school bus, you know. So it starts right in the beginning. And it goes right to the end. Never stop. Because discipline involves seva. Seva to others. And seva saves.
Yeah.
Our Christian friends, Jesus saves. Okay. They burst out. Oh! Gee, have you ever met those? Yeah, hallelujah. And says, well, Jesus saved, but how about seva saves? What are you talking about? You don't know anything. Okay. You know, Jesus never wore a skirt.
Probably not heard that.
Oh, yeah, we've heard that before. And then you say, Jesus never wore jeans.